So White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt announced that the Associated Press has been banned from the Oval Office for not honoring the recent renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
The Gulf, formerly known as the Gulf of Mexico, which should now be called whatever the hell.
But there's a much broader.
The Gulf of whatever the hell he wants.
When you've got nothing valuable to say, you just keep talking, non-stop, mindlessly spewing words that go nowhere. It's a never-ending stream of nonsense. The voters, they don't support the women on The View, not even close. These women are so out of touch with everyday Americans, it's almost laughable. Honestly, they should consider getting their facts from IM Media. For years, Whoopi Goldberg reigned over The View, perched like royalty, cutting off guests, steamrolling opposing viewpoints, and presenting her opinions as if they were absolute truths no one could question. But then, in one jaw-dropping moment, everything came crashing down. Whoopi's iron grip on daytime TV fell apart right in front of us, and it was all thanks to Karoline Leavitt. No one saw it coming. The episode started like any other. Smug laughs, eye rolls, and the usual panel nodding in unison, all moving in perfect sync with the show's liberal agenda. Whoopi, as confident as ever, settled back, ready to dominate yet another conversation. Then, out of nowhere, the topic of wokeness came up, a term The View practically worships, a concept they defend like it's the bedrock of their entire existence. And honestly, in their world, it kind of is. Whoopi, feeling untouchable, took the first shot, her signature smirk creeping across her face. With a pointed finger at Karoline, she declared, "Without wokeness, you wouldn't even have this job." And just like that, bam, the entire atmosphere in the room shifted. The audience went quiet, the air thick with tension. Even Joy Behar, who's made a career out of mocking conservatives, suddenly seemed uncomfortable in her seat. What Whoopi said next was exactly what you'd expect. Predictable, obnoxious. After all these years as a host, you'd think she'd at least get creative with her banter. But nope. Same old, same old. Let's see what she has for us this time.
Saying that there's no transparency. I mean, before it was Elon Musk and President Trump doing this and being highly scrutinized for it, it was just unnamed bureaucrats in the city that nobody knew just writing checks. And finally, we're actually looking at the books, and what they are revealing is truly appalling, but I guess not surprising when you look at the way that Washington has been run for decades. Again, the American people voted for this monumental change, and that's exactly what they're getting.
The tension was palpable. Everyone could feel it building up, waiting for the next move. And let's just say, Whoopi wasn't ready for the fiery response that was coming her way. This wasn't some casual disagreement or a playful back and forth. This was Whoopi Goldberg taking a direct shot at Karoline Leavitt's entire career. Her intelligence, her work ethic, dismissed as mere byproducts of the very ideology she opposed. It was condescending, dismissive, meant to tear her down completely. Yet, despite the obvious insult, the audience clapped almost on autopilot. Some even chuckled, but there was a clear tension in the air. A subtle unease that hinted they knew Whoopi had crossed a line, but didn't quite know how to call it out. But Karoline, she didn't flinch, not a single step back. No scrambling for a defense or a snappy comeback. Instead, she did something far more powerful. And Whoopi, she wasn't laughing anymore. Isn't Karoline incredibly articulate? It's honestly shocking that the hosts on The View chose to mock her instead of supporting another woman. That choice speaks volumes about their hidden agenda. Let's see how this plays out. Karoline's about to drop some truth that will be impossible to ignore. The woman who'd built her career on dominating conversations, shutting down conservative voices, and bulldozing through any uncomfortable topic was now the one on the defensive. Whoopi shifted uncomfortably in her seat, the smirk completely gone, her hands moving nervously as if looking for something to grip. She was fumbling her words, struggling to keep up with Karoline's rapid-fire responses, but this time, the tables had turned. No matter how much Whoopi may have wanted to clap back and regain control, she couldn't. Karoline wasn't giving her an inch. And in that moment, for the first time in a long time, it was glaringly obvious to everyone watching. Whoopi Goldberg had backed herself into a corner, and there was no easy way out. She opened her mouth, then shut it. Opened it again. Still nothing. The words wouldn't come. The audience, usually so quick to cheer her on, sat frozen in tense silence. Even the most loyal View fans didn't know how to react. The energy in the room had shifted. For once, no one knew whether to laugh, clap, or just wait for Whoopi to say something, anything, to take back control. Even the camera crew hesitated. Should they zoom in on Whoopi's stunned face, capturing the exact moment she realized she'd backed herself into a corner, or cut to commercial and hope the viewers wouldn't catch it? Whoopi, who was always so quick with a snarky remark or a dismissive gesture, now sat stiffly in her chair, clearly wishing she could vanish into it. She had walked straight into a trap, and there was no easy escape. And here's the real question Karoline had exposed. If wokeness is all about diversity and inclusion, then why are conservative women the ones getting attacked? Why do those who preach tolerance become vicious when faced with someone who doesn't bow to their ideology? In that moment, Whoopi Goldberg realized she had nothing. No comeback, no sharp retort, no witty remark to turn the tide in her favor. The silence stretched on, thick and uncomfortable. Desperate to break it, Joy Behar jumped in, trying to force out a nervous joke in a last-ditch attempt to ease the tension. But the damage had already been done. Whoopi had done something no one ever thought they'd see. She had completely unraveled. Live on television. It's tough to watch, right? The way her arguments come off as so childish and dismissive, especially when she's faced with facts she can't easily refute.
They didn't believe these things existed. If you show these people in the press room, this is $2.5 million for cow flatulence reduction. Do any of these reporters make a case for $2.5 million for cow flatulence reduction in Brazil?
Well, they tried to make the case yesterday for $50 million in condoms to Gaza, saying that they actually went to another country, as if that's any better. The point is we are discovering this egregious misuse of American taxpayer funds. And yes, Jesse, we have the receipts, and I will continue to pull them at every briefing if they continue to ask, and we will provide that information. We have nothing to hide. Again, President Trump is exposing what the American people...
Let's talk about Carrie Underwood for a second. When Carrie performed at Trump's second inauguration, Whoopi and her co-hosts went after her with a vengeance. They didn't just critique her performance, they went full savage. They mocked her relentlessly, claiming she'd ruined her career and even suggesting she was now tied to hate. That entire segment was a character assassination, and they expected Carrie to just sit there and take it. But Carrie, she did something no one saw coming. Instead of releasing a vague statement or tweeting something half-hearted, she filed a $1 billion defamation lawsuit against The View. And when that case finally went to court, something explosive came to light. Something that not even Whoopi saw coming. It's honestly refreshing to see someone break free from The View's scripted bias. Watching someone stand their ground with facts is like a breath of fresh air, especially when the usual voices start to crumble. It's satisfying to see a different perspective, one free from the usual agenda. Karoline's stats are impressive, and it's amazing to see her getting the recognition she deserves. On the other hand, Whoopi's accomplishments these days, well, they're a little harder to define. While Whoopi had a strong start in acting, her recent contributions seem less about offering meaningful dialogue and more about stirring controversy. Her position on The View now feels more about tenure than any real value she's adding. It's hard to point to anything substantial she's done recently. Leaked emails revealed that ABC had deliberately orchestrated the attack on Carrie Underwood to boost ratings. This wasn't some accidental slip, it was a calculated smear campaign designed to stir up controversy, ignite outrage, and keep The View trending. When the truth came to light, the industry was shaken. ABC executives scrambled into full damage control mode, ultimately settling for a massive undisclosed amount. Behind the scenes, rumors began swirling about whether The View was even worth the hassle anymore. But just when they thought the storm had passed, Elon Musk happened. Whoopi and the host spent months painting Musk as a dangerous figure, spreading false claims about Twitter's policies under his ownership. But Musk wasn't about to let that slide. He sued, and suddenly, The View was back in crisis mode. Advertisers, once loyal to the show, started pulling back, sick of the never-ending scandals. The show's reputation as a ratings juggernaut began to fade, and major sponsors started questioning if it was still worth the risk. As the lawsuits piled up, the cracks in The View became impossible to ignore. The once unstoppable force led by Whoopi Goldberg was now unraveling. With 3 lawsuits and advertisers bailing, the network found itself in full-blown panic mode. The View was no longer the powerhouse it once was, and ABC couldn't stop the freefall. Action. Whoopi's talking in circles. But Karoline? She's the one truly standing tall. She's the real hero here, pushing back against all the nonsense. Whoopi Goldberg's reign at The View came to an abrupt and unexpected end after years of dominating the show and silencing any opposing voices. The final nail in the coffin came after her explosive showdown with Karoline Leavitt, which exposed her weakness live on air. ABC tried to spin it as a break for Whoopi, but everyone could see what had really happened. It was clear she had been let go. The network went into full damage control mode as advertisers pulled their support, and even the most loyal fans began to question the show's future. With Whoopi gone, The View faces a major crossroads. Will they bring in someone like Whoopi to try to preserve the status quo, or will they finally make a bold change? Is this the beginning of the end for the show? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.